Hi, everybody. So welcome. And this is one of our series. We are Fil-CHA, which stands for Filipinx AO Community Health Association. And we are the Mental Health Committee. My name is Dr. Donna Dimanarig. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And our esteemed leader in the Mental Health Committee is Lily Divina. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lily Divino. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, but also a public health professional. I work closely with Donna at our mental health committee to put these webinars together. Donna will talk a little bit more about what brought us together for the mental health committee and also to put these webinars together. But good evening, and I'm glad everybody can make it.
Yeah, so these series of webinars that we are putting together is basically to help destigmatize mental health and to promote, overall well-being, which does not only include, mental health in a sense, but looking at both, all aspects of a person. That includes their cognitive, their emotional health, behavioral, social, and spiritual health as well. So the purpose of the Mental Health Committee, is to improve the mental health and well-being of the Filipinx AO community by working with individuals, communities, and organizations in various sectors that focuses on behavioral health. And our goal as a committee is to raise awareness by engaging with the community at large through psychoeducation or education. And this is also to help destigmatize mental health and normalize help-seeking behavior, that it's okay, to say that, hey, I'm struggling here. It's okay to seek out help. To improve access to health, mental health, and social services. And our other goal is to promote holistic, culturally appropriate approaches to mental health and wellness. And today, there we go. And for those of you who have any other questions, these are some of our some ways to get in contact with us. We have our email up here, and Lily can probably put that on the chat. So if you've missed it the first time, you can get it through the chat. And today we are going to talk about Filipino cooking. And our guest speaker for today is Jay Jasper Pugao. He is a food justice educator. Hi, Jay. And he's going to cook for us a Filipino vegan dish. So I will leave it up to Jay. Yeah. So tell us about vegan cooking, Jay.
Okay, hi everybody. Maraming salamat po. My name is Jay Jasper Pugao. Ako po ang anak ni Rebecca Pugao at Isagani Pugao, taga Pilipinas sa Manila. I'm Jay Jasper Pugao. I'm the son of Rebecca Pugao, Becky Pugao, and Isagani Pugao. Born in the Philippines, immigrated here many moons ago. Here meaning the Great Ohlone Land in California, in Oakland, California. So just want to acknowledge the land that I'm in. And I am an educator overall, but I educate various art forms from Filipino martial arts to plant-based cooking, to student leadership and adults as well. And I'm a big fan of holistic health, right? And decolonizing my diet to I could then liberate myself through food, mentally, physically, and eventually also spiritually, or at least reconnect myself. And part of that also is through food, right? And one way is living a more compassionate lifestyle, which is why I do one of the things that I do. And I also teach young people Filipino vegan food cooking and/or plant-based vegan food cooking in general. So maraming salamat po. Thanks for having me. And I look forward to sharing with you all. And thank you for slicing time out of your time to be here with me today.
Awesome. So what are you going to cook for us tonight?
So tonight I'm gonna do a dish from the Philippines called Apritada, and Apritada has is one of the it's a tomato-based stew dish. You know, Apritada has a connected name in Spanish from fritada, meaning fried, and but it's a soup base. So we're gonna do a version that is not animal based, so it's plant based, where we could utilize some other sources of protein, whether it's plant based whole foods, whether it's coming from a chickpea, a garbanzo bean, or where it's more of a processed texturized tofu, protein like tofu, or like a vegetarian chicken, right? And what is that all about? And why people do that, etc. And I can kind of go over that as we go on today. So that's going to be the dish that we're going to be cooking. That way, you know, you're promoting health for the body, for the planet, but at the same time, you're minimizing other things in the body that doesn't really need, right? Minimizing your cholesterol, minimizing other salty ingredients, and at the same time, really promoting health for you and your body and your planet as well. So we're going to be doing that version of apritada. I think that might cover that. But otherwise, any other question?
Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, I think they're just waiting for you to cook for us, Jay.
Okay, well, I'm going to cook, and obviously the food is going to take a while, so I love it to be as interactive as possible.
Yes.
If there are any questions that you might have regarding the diet, whether it's for physical health, mental health. I'm not a doctor, nor am I a nutritionist, but I do my research. And I could point you to the folks that could have those data, but I'm kind of aware of the knowledge based on, you know, just health, but also food justice and how it affects our planet by eating more like this. All right. So I'm just gonna get going right now. I got a saucepan going, just kind of heating up. I'm gonna add a little bit of oil in it, and then we're gonna add on the bawang and the sibuyas, which is the garlic and the onion. Okay.
Awesome.
If fire away any questions, I'm just gonna switch, and I'll have the ability to switch cameras. I have this camera. I have this camera.
Fancy.
Well, it's not Disney yet, but we're on the way. So here's a dish that we kind of got going. I'm gonna go ahead.
So you mentioned earlier, Jay, about decolonize cooking. Can you tell us a little bit more what that means? What do you mean by, you know, decolonizing our cooking and our diet? What does that mean?
I think, you know, decolonizing could be a word that could be also used in many different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, I'm changing my camera angle here. And one of the ways we could do that is knowing where our food comes from, right? And also making sure that we are aware of the distance, the mileage, you know, from farm to table, you know. So that's a way of decolonizing. Another way of decolonizing is like eating food that is more local and region to your area, right? Or where your body is more, which the region, the foods that where your body comes from, like where, you know, are you African? Are you Mexican? What are the food that grow in where your original place is?
Right. It sounds very like what a lot of indigenous folks here in the U.S. In terms of their diet. Like I've spoken to some native healers, and they talk about, you know, eating food that is you know, indigenous to your body. So looking at where you're from, and, you know, areas in the Philippines, mostly going to be seafood, right? Because it's an island.
Yes. And so then, you know, your body relates to certain food a little better, you digest it better, etc.
Right.
So those are one ways that ways you decolonize your diet, right? Another way is really just being aware of even the labor that was used for that, the resources that was used to produce that food, whether how much pounds of how much water is used to produce a pound of beef versus how much water is used to produce a pound of broccoli, right? And kind of that's some of the ideas and activities or ideas of decolonizing. Okay, so we're gonna use some garlic right here. I don't know if you
Cool.
see that, and some onion, and we're gonna just put that in until it turns golden brown.
So those are basically the basis. Lily and I were just talking about this earlier, where in many Filipinx dishes, garlic and onions are very basic.
Yeah, basic for the how we flavor things.
Right.
Right. So I'm doing Nanai style where I didn't write down the measurements, but because I eyeball a little bit. So we're gonna do a little bit of that, and then afterwards I'll send you guys a written version, or y'all can help me put together a written version. All right, so we're gonna put like about 2 tablespoons of garlic. And then a pinch of everything, by the way, a pinch of garlic, a pinch of onion, a pinch of everything. No, but the idea of just basically we're gonna flavor the base of the sauce of the dish, and like you said, garlic and onion are those pungent vegetable spices that does that. Aside from that, we'll be using tofu right here, like we mentioned before. And then we're going to be using these as our guest protein. This is like a vegetarian chicken nugget. And if you can see how it breaks down, right?
So it has a consistency of chicken, but it's plant-based.
Yeah. And Donna, you've been to my brother's restaurant.
I have many times.
And so this is the protein base that we use to replace the actual chicken. And what's cool about that is it's like, you know, when I was turning vegetarian at a younger age, like it was like vegetarian meats, there was no such thing, and didn't taste so good at all, you know? So nowadays it's becoming a little bit more competitive in the market. So these vegetarian meat items, protein products are getting even better, and they don't taste like cardboard. Like when I used to have veggie protein, they were tasting like cardboard, you know. Now it's like really
good.
Good, right? And yeah, and if you're gonna do a measurement between the resources used between the animal-based protein versus the plant-based protein, this one is going to be the winner, because you're going to get your sources of protein, but at the same time, it's not going to produce as much resources and output on the carbon output on the planet.
So it helps with the environment as well.
Definitely. And we're talking about mental health. You know, mental health is a combination of a lot of things, including physical health and knowing what's going on in the universe, right? So mental health in the world, right? Whether it's like trying to minimize our footprint on the planet and trying to lower climate change or whatnot, we need to make sure that we're aware of these things and we're participating in the world and how to benefit it. So that's like, to me, part of mental health, and eating this way helps mental health aside from their physical health.
Right. It's mindfulness eating.
Yeah, definitely. We're also going to be using some peppers here. Red and green. Some carrots, tomatoes.
Ooh.
And these are the base of Apritada. Some peas, some tomato sauce.
So the tomato sauce, is that like a canned tomato sauce, or? So
you can get canned tomato sauce. It's like how my mom had taught us, because it's like, you know, colonized people, we've been colonized. So a lot of sometimes we depend on canned goods, especially after the war, or what our ancestors, our elders went through the war. There was, in war, a lot of cans were produced. So then, you know, in order us to crank something out, we just get a can. And so what we could do is that, or here now, 2021, I got my tomatoes and I got my
Oh,
my
nice.
NutriBullet right here, so I go ahead and make my own tomato sauce, right?
That is
So
awesome. Yeah.
maybe we'll do that, right? But however, we could saute the tomato into the dish, and that's gonna make it good as well. So we could do both, right? We can like I'll put some of the tomatoes in it, and then some of the tomatoes we'll put in the NutriBullet.
So is it any kind of tomatoes? Because I know there's so many different types of tomatoes out there. Is there a particular tomato that you use?
Right, for this one, I'm using some organic tomatoes, and
Okay.
you know, I usually prefer the smaller grape tomatoes.
Ah,
Um,
squeeze it. That looks so satisfying right now.
yeah, man. Oh, me too.
I can imagine how therapeutic it is to be cooking.
You know what? It totally is. For me, I think I was mentioning to you before we began was like how meditative it is, and probably different when you're like producing food. Like when I was working with my brother in the kitchen, and we got to crank out food at a certain time, and because people are waiting. So then, yes, then it's not, you know, but you do have a lot of, for me at least, it is very therapeutic when I am cooking. So that's your base thing. A lot of Filipino dish, the garlic, the onion, the tomato, they're right. That in itself is like a base sauce for a lot of other Filipino dishes.
Yeah. Well, Mary just commented. She said, "I bet it smells amazing."
It does. It does.
I do have a question from somebody.
Yes, go ahead, somebody.
Okay. This is it's anonymous. It is just somebody. Sorry, I thought there was a name. So, what are your recommend responses when others may say that Filipino vegan food is not considered Filipino food? Like for those who may associate with meat.
Right. Well, you know what? Everything is a conditioning, right? Like even part of the decolonization is like a lot of the foods that we eat is because it was influenced by Spanish, our colonizers, or it was America, or it was Japanese, right? So it's like hip hop. You take what's good, you know, and then everything else is like something that you know, who's the purists, right? Who's like that judge, and if they are, that's fine, right? Because Filipinos was a trade route for a lot of other Asian cultures, African cultures. So it's like, what is yours anyways?
Right.
Right. And that's part of decolonizing. It's like, what is yours anyways? Why don't you, instead of identifying what it's not, why don't we identify what it's like, you know, or where its influence come from, right?
I like that.
And meat is like, you know, we ate more meat after, you know, the Western, and after Spain came and influenced our foods, you know. Before that, a lot of the foods we were eating was plant-based or from the ocean, you know. So that's, you know, yeah, you can take that answer anyway, but I would just say, you know what, our ancestors and our elders passed us dishes so we could then adapt them to make it for us at this moment, right? So what is traditional really? It really is the flavor that's traditional, right? Everything else changed, the ingredients from meat to tofu, you know, then you're just kind of being innovative.
You know, Jay, it's funny because you talk you know, so my parents are, my mom's from the South. She's from Zamboanga. And
you were talking and I turned this.
Yeah, I figured you were. So it's funny because you brought up the regionalism piece because like my mom is from the South, from Zamboanga. My dad's from the North, and their diets are so different. Like my dad is more like city, where you're talking about like, you know, those more meats, more rich foods. Where my mom lived off the water, and they had like, you know, very different eating styles where it was more plant-based. Like my mom would actually get fresh fish from the water, like the fishermen, right, like right off the boat, you know. So and it's funny because like and their health has been very different, I think, from that for that reason.
Yeah, man. You know, out of all the Pan-Asian communities, Thai, Japanese, Chinese, the Filipinos have the highest rate of heart disease and all other kind of ailments on the body. And part of that is the more influenced our food was by other cultures, the less we started to eat of what we were originally eating, right? So yes, you would see it. And if you could look, you know, You know, if you compare the general body types of Filipinos to other Asians, you know, we tend to be a little bit, you know, because the food we're eating, you know, it's and our ailments. So we got a higher entrance in hospitals. So I don't know how to say
Yeah,
that.
definitely high in hypertension, diabetes. We definitely, yeah, have a high rate of that.
Yeah. So right now I'm adding, yeah, and again, that's part of the why it's important for us to do have other opportunities and alternatives to eating, right?
Ooh,
Instead of
that
what
looks
quote
good.
unquote is traditional. So we added some tomatoes to saute, and then also some other tomato sauce, right? That's going to be the base of it. That's about, I want to say I'm using about a cup and a half or 2 cups.
Now, how long have you sauteed the garlic and the onions?
That's a good one. I think for me, I want to at least turn them golden brown, and I want to make
Okay.
sure that the flavors and the juices are released. And then to me, that would probably be around between 5 to 7 minutes, depending on how high the heat is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We're just base building our base here. Yeah, the other dishes.
Smell it.
Yeah.
Smell it through the screen right now.
Yeah, so then eventually we're gonna use some of the harder, more dense vegetables first. That way they kind of start softening, right? The potatoes, the carrot, right? But what we're gonna do is we're gonna do put the protein in a separate pan, and we're gonna do, because that's what makes apritada. Apritada is that fritada, which is the fried part, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna take our tofu and our vegetarian chicken, and we're gonna go ahead and put some texture in, put some coating, put some little char on it a little bit to give it the other flavor, right? It's cool to eat clean. You're already eating clean vegetarian food, but you know, you can have a little char in there, you know, like nice little flavor.
Also, another great thing about using these like vegan chicken or vegan meat is that they don't take as long to cook.
Wow, exactly.
Compared to real meat.
Yeah, there's nothing to kill, right? They're like, so it's like really just kind of, you're just really kind of warming it up, you know?
Right.
And again, it's like, and when it goes to, and it doesn't go to waste as fast, right? Because there's nothing that rots, right? I mean, it goes to bad because eventually, you know, anything that gets old goes bad, right? But it doesn't rot as fast because it's not animal product, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just turn up this next pan right here. My cameraman, which is my right hand. So we're just gonna add that there. And we're gonna, so now you can see it's like kind of clean and white on both sides, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a little brown on that thing. You know, white is cool.
Put some Filipino in that thing.
Put some brown, some Filipino on that thing. Okay, and that's what's gonna make it the fritada part. So we're just gonna throw that together.
Hey, what kind of oil are you using?
I sometimes cheat. I use different types, but usually I'm using grapeseed oil for things that are higher, that doesn't acquire higher heat. Sometimes I look coconut oil, but some of my family members are not really big on coconut taste, right? And then sometimes I'll use olive oil, even though olive oil is not really for high heat, right? It's just we love olive oil. There's more olive oil in the house, but usually grapeseed oil for doing the high heat.
Okay, that's good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think it affects the body different with these certain oils, right? So I think high heat oils are coconut oil, grapeseed oil, and so those are useful for that kind of cooking style.
So I have another question. What resources would you suggest for Filipino Americans who want to learn more about the foods that are indigenous to them?
Wow, that's great. I think I don't have the answer to that, rather than maybe start with cuento, right? Starting storytelling with your elders, starting having that connection with your mom and your papa's family, and trying to figure out what grows or what grew in those areas, right? As Filipino Americans now, this is America is now our home, right? So then you know, just that little effort of trying to figure out what is from your homeland, right? So now I'm gonna just flip this over. You can see a little bit of the
Brown.
the little frying on it, right?
So for the tofu, Jay, do you use extra firm or just firm tofu? Because I know there are different consistencies.
Yeah, I think that's up to you, man. I'm really
okay.
I like it extra firm.
Me too.
But, I like my tofu working out. Sorry, we're talking about food, right? My bad. sorry. Food. Yeah, that's what we're doing. But you know, like if I'm eating, like if I'm cooking dishes that are like soup based, like sinigang or other or tinola, right? Where I'm still using, I might use some vegetarian protein, but I'm gonna use the softer tofu because it makes it more soupy, right?
Like the silk tofu that they use in some Chinese soup.
Right. So those are like more of the soft tofu. I'm going in my freezer and let me see. Hope I'm not burning anything. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna just show you various protein products that I use, and some I get from Chinatown, and the Chinese are very creative when they're talking about vegetarian proteins. But the Americans are no joke, you know, like right now, beyond this one.
Yeah,
like,
I love that.
Or Impossible. Like Impossible is in like Carl's Jr.'s, it's in a Burger King, right? You know, the bigger mainstream is starting to catch up. They know that they know people are not stupid. They know you're smart. And they know that, you know, they know like things are eventually pivoting, right? People are becoming more aware of what they're eating. So hence these are products. This is like these little veggie chicken legs. That's not a leg. That's a
that is actually really cute.
Right? Like, look at this little chicken leg.
There's also like vegan spam. Have you had that?
Yes.
Super good.
And you know, that's what's good is because like the more that there is people eating more open and eating more plant-based, and the more that the market will pivot, and the more that companies will ride the flow, you know. We need to ride the ebb and flow of it. Okay. So
sorry.
Go for it.
You need to go in the middle, because actually I have two related questions, because people are asking about like, you know, product types and adaptations. Do you have time, or do you need to focus on what you're cooking?
Right now I'm throwing in some carrots, the more dense vegetables.
Okay.
I'm throwing in the potatoes, right? That way that can start breaking those down. These garbanzo beans I got this already softened. So this I'll throw towards the end because, you know, like the potatoes and the carrots, they're more dense and more hard. I want to soften those, so I'm going to throw those in now. I'm going to cover it up. Great. Okay, questions. Go right ahead, Lily.
Sure, yeah. I want to make sure, like, you know, I'm not ruining your flow either.
And you know what? That's what we do as Filipinos. You know, we go with the flow. So ihit ng hangin sa daloy ng current of the ocean. So thank you so much for just going with the flow, Lily, and filling the gaps.
So somebody actually had this, I'm thinking like, oh, will this work? So what are your thoughts on a fishball adaptation using falafel type recipe? Is it doable? And they're getting hungry over there watching your video.
Yes. Can you repeat the question? What type of falafel? What? I heard falafel and I stopped thinking.
They want to do a fish ball adaptation using falafel type of recipe. Does that make sense? Is it doable?
Yeah, totally. I have not experimented with that yet, but falafel is a good one. There's also, and that's chickpeas. That's excellent because you don't have to get that process. You can do that yourself. So yeah, but I haven't experimented that yet. So feel free to let me know how that goes. One way to do it when we do our vegetarian lumpia is we'll use some of the vegetarian ground beef, and that holds a consistency that if you want to make balls out of that, you can. So, but then again, that's like more of the processed protein, right? Where falafel, chickpea powder, that's a lower, it's still processed, but at a lower scale. So that's better for your stomach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And another question too about then, like, alternatives to meat. So one person asked, like, or maybe it depends. Do you use firm or extra firm tofu, or does it depend on the dish?
Right. That was
what I asked.
Maestra Donna just asked, and I told them that I like my tofu that work out. So
that's what you meant. I didn't try to leave some work out.
You know what? You know what really it is? You know what the thing about vegetarian and vegan food is? Donna, hilarious. One of the things about it is, got a nice little char, I'm gonna turn that off, is really about texture, right? If people can eat food, I'm throwing in our bell peppers, green and red, right? If people can eat food that could have them, they're less likely to remind them, my bad. If they can eat food that is, that has many various textures, because that's what meat really is, right? Meat is texture. So the more textures we have, the mouth will be suffice as long as the flavor is good and you're providing energy, good sources of energy. Like the body will know when it's clean. You're like, oh shit, it's clean and shit. But the more, I forgot Donna's laugh. Maybe.
Sorry.
No, I love it. I love it.
And then do you have a follow-up question from the same person? Do you have a preferred brand of vegetarian chicken?
Do I have a preferred what now?
Brand.
I fools with the Chinese, man. They tight with the chicken nugget.
Wow.
Right? Low cholesterol, no eggs, no alcohol, GMO free, made in Taiwan. That's the only thing. It's traveling. So, but right now there's a big movement, particularly here in the Bay Area. There's like men of color to these the brother from Vegan Mob, Toriano, I believe is his name, is a good community leader. He owns Vegan Mob, and also Chef Chu, he runs Veg Hub. These are two African American chefs, vegan chefs, and they're creating their own protein, and they're making it in the market. Excuse me, their products are in the market. So we want to like support those individuals that are like not just amazing chefs, but they're actually helping put plant-based proteins onto the market, and they're people of color. Because that's the other thing about decolonizing the diet. A lot of the perceptions about vegetarian and veganism, that it's either a white thing, or it's a place of privilege, like rich people, right? Which a lot of the products are expensive, but really indigenous people have been eating whole-based plant food ever since time immemorial, whether it's beans and rice, so it's not like a new thing. It's not like just the white people or the rich people. There's other sources of protein that are whole-based plants. But if you do miss texture, like a lot of me and a lot of Filipino Americans that I know, we miss texture. So we like to use firm tofu and then char it up a little bit so it's a little brown, but it's firm and it's like it's a little juicy. So
Now my mind went somewhere. Thanks.
we're still talking about food. We're talking about food, right? Talking about spooning or forking or spooning. I don't know. We're talking about food. We're talking about food. Okay.
I have another question, Jay.
Yeah.
So, what other Filipino dishes have you made that's vegetarian? And actually, do you have plans to put a Filipino vegetarian cookbook?
I would buy
Wow.
that.
I hope. Okay. I already forgot the question, but
Oh yeah, it's 2 parts. So first one is, what other Filipino dishes have you made that's vegan or vegetarian?
right. So my brother, shout out to my brother, Chef JR of No Worries Vegan. He had a Filipino vegan restaurant. Now he sold the restaurant and the food truck, and he is now still catering. So he's still doing the business, but he's dedicated some of his time being the plant forward chef at Stanford University. So he's actually Professor Donna was reaching out for my brother, but he's been busy, and also recently we had our pops just recently passed away, so he just needed some time. But my brother has been one of the leaders in the movement, and when we had the restaurant, we were cooking up to 9-10 different dishes that are Filipino that we made vegan or veganized. However, like I said, part of decolonizing, some of our dishes are already veganized or vegan, like Mongo. They put some shrimp and pork in it, but before that, it was like mung beans, straight up Mongo, Yeah. So I have other dishes. This is the one that's been nudged lightly by Maestra Dr. Donna, because she's one of her favorites when she came to the restaurant.
Yes, I usually order that.
Yeah, but next one, if y'all bring me back, we'll do adobo.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We're gonna add on our Apritada, our texturized protein inside, right? And then we're gonna add on our other sources of protein like the chickpea, and then the frozen peas. Or actually, they're peas. I wasn't supposed to say they were frozen. My bad. What I meant to say was I planted them in the hills of the Andean mountains, and I farmed them myself.
In the mountains? What mountains?
Yeah, the East Oakland Hills.
I was gonna say, which one?
Oh, so Jay, the same person was asking, do you plan to do, or you or your brother plan to do a Filipino vegetarian cookbook?
Oh, yes. So great. Thank you for coming back to that. I definitely was like, skip that question. Part of it is probably like,
there's tons of things right now.
Because it's been asked a few times. But I am super down to I'm actually in the process of doing it. But there's, some imposter syndrome a little bit, like, who am I to do this? But at the same time, a lot of my friends are like, yo, you guys have been pioneering this stuff, even though there's a lot more popular Filipino vegan chefs now. Like, my friend, Chef Reina, she's amazing. She's got her restaurant, So there's a little bit of that, but, if it's just doing for the community and our friends, I'm still down to do it and integrate some stories of our families and stories of our path, because there was times where we were trying to sell Filipino vegan food in Union City, which is like the Filipino town in East Bay, and a lot of grandmothers would come out at the farmers market, and me and JR especially hit him hard. He was the chef. We was out there 6 a.m. Sometimes it's raining. We're setting it up, and all the people line up, and then all of a sudden the grandmothers are like, "I can do better than this. This is not real Filipino food." But they'll be fucking it up, though. They'll be like, "Oh shit!" They'll come back for a second.
Eat the whole dish and like, I can see it better, right?
Love it.
We've got, you have to develop really thick skin, especially in the beginning of the game. Yeah. Because as the, pioneering the Filipino vegan food, our own Filipino community, especially our elders, kind of had to warm up to us. Yeah. They had to be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's good for the planet. Oh, it's good for the body. Oh, I could feel it. Yeah, you're right. But it took some time. And it wasn't until, unfortunately, being colonized people, it wasn't until white people and black people was loving it and posting it in their Instagram. And they were like, And all of a sudden, the Filipino community became more accepting. Like, oh yeah, I know, no worries. Yeah, Filipino vegan, we got that. I can do that, you know. So now, you know, we got to pave the path a little bit, but it was a lot of pain going through that path, you know, being early in the pioneer and early in the game. So definitely want to share some of that story. If that was something that people would be interested in, you know. So it's not just it's food related, but it's also cuento. It's also our story, our kasaysayan, our narrative as Filipinos, as immigrants, really trying to promote a healthier way of life, whether it's for my body or for my planet or for the future, right? Because really, the more we, the smaller our impact on the planet, the more Earth there is for the future generation, right? So, you know, I want to be mindful in my movement and how I navigate the world. Especially if I'm going to think like Native Americans, I think 7 generations behind me, 7 generations ahead of me, right? So that's probably why I'm so passionate about this, even though we're still, you know, we're not like no longer the only or in the forefront or whatnot. You know, now we're like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I welcome other Filipino chefs, vegan chefs. I think it's great for the movement.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned already things like, you know, texture and umami flavors. This person is asking, so what would plant-based vegan meats would you suggest to veganize pork adobo or beef caldereta?
So for adobo, I showed you those chicken legs. I showed you these little brown thighs right here.
So cute.
Little thighs. Again, you have the texturized. You have the opportunity to explore and go out there and get texturized protein. Right, Chinatown would be a good place. But there's also like, you know, there's like Lisa Simpson level 5 vegans. They're like, nothing that looks and smells like meat, right? And I'm all good with them. I'm down with those. I'm down with level 5 Lisa Simpson. But like I said, for some of our community members who are still transitioning, then, you know, they like the texture, they like the char, they like the burn, so then I would say explore. And now Lucky's and Safeway have different versions of vegetarian meats. So the way I do it, Whole Foods, right? The way I do it is I look at the protein product and I look what that protein product could look more like, oh, is that a fish? What could that fish dish could go? You know, or is that a ground beef? Oh, I could use that for this kind of, you know, giniling or something like that. So that's the other thing about being more eating plant-based and vegetarian is then you get to like explore and just kind of open this whole new world, right? And it's such a good payoff, y'all. I mean, honestly, it's like you add length to your life, I believe. And data has been shown that if you're eating more plant-based, it's healthier for your body. And then this, you know, like I said, this really good feeling about your mind feeling good, knowing that you're minimizing conflict on the food that you're consuming, right? Whether it's the animal being hurt, being caged, or the laborers farming those animals that are not in healthy environments, right? And in those environments, right? The chemicals that's going into the bodies of the animals, the chemicals that's going into the plants, and how that seeps into the water and to the soil. And, you know, all of those connections, we live in one planet, right? So it's like, it's hard to devoid or separate ourselves from the whole, right? So this kind of feel good vibe that you get by eating and cooking plant-based food, it's just amazing, you know, and you attract more of that, and your life, and I'm going to speak for myself, and my life started to pivot and shift when I started eating more aware and being more conscious of what I'm putting in my body, you know? So yeah, I don't know where that question went, but
you went there. You answered it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Somebody actually just also what they use is Gardein pork. It's Gardein.
Oh yeah, Gardein.
But without sauce, it has a good texture and absorbs flavor.
Nice. That's great. And so those are good things to look out for, right? Like for what kind of dish, and then you know, certain proteins. Like one protein that I'm not a big fan of is like tempeh, right? Like I love tempeh if it's really done well. But sometimes when it's not done well, I'm like, get this block of brick away from me.
Yeah.
So like what that one person said about gardein and flavors being absorbed. See, that's the other thing about coming and cooking, having those kind of lens on it. Like will this absorb the protein, right, or the flavor? You know, so those are really great products to try out. Yes, and I'm sorry I'm not looking at the chat room here, but I should.
Well, yeah, no, Abby had commented she tried fake shrimp and it tasted too real, and it was a product of Thailand and used konjac plant. And she misses no worries, by the way. I do too.
Oh, man. Hey,
I've been advocating for you to bring no worries to the East Coast, but you know, I've been saying that for years.
Yes, I definitely will continue to say yes. We want to do that, you know. But our head chef, you know, when he's ready to come back out, then we're coming hard with him, you know. But as for me, I definitely am continuing my work, whether it's food that are Filipino or other cultural dishes that are plant-based. That's kind of the work that I do with youth. Is like kids from El Salvador, kids from Mexico, kids from Syria. Like I engage them in conversation around what plant-based food would look like in their culture. And then they hella just showed me and they teach me. And so, which is amazing because then we get to learn from one another. And then through that conversation, we get to tie in the benefits of plant-based diet on the body, on the planet, right? So that's how I kind of integrate my cooking program with the young people that I work with. But I also do that with community. So feel free to, when they're ready for in-person, you know, if y'all ready for us to do that, we'll come by. I'll come by and show you some falafels that I learned from my Syrian students. Yeah.
All right. Now, if you can find a way to send us that food to our side.
Yes, I'm going to email it to you, Doc. Email it to you right now.
All right. I'll wait for it.
Open up your scanner. All right. So let's take a look at what's going on here. We are now doing our final flavors here. We're going to just add some peppers, a pinch, maybe 2 pinches. Right, your bay leaf, right? Actually, I could have added this in earlier to kind of flavor it sooner, but the bay leaf it's pretty strong, so it'll kind of kick in there. And then eventually, obviously, our salt bay, right? And these are the things that you're really flavoring your apritada with. Now, some people like to do extra, right? So if you check this out. This is another flavor from Trader Joe's.
Oh.
It's called vegan chickenless seasoning salt.
Oh, cool.
Right. So the companies they're all up on it, man. They know that there's a pivot. People are becoming more conscious of what they eat. So I don't have to, but I could. I'm going to go ahead and kick in a few of this vegan chickenless seasoning salt here. Okay. And one way to measure is you get your fork and you go through your tomato through your potatoes to see if it's soft enough, right? That's one way to
do it. So taste test.
Yeah, yes. So actually we should do a taste test. The pepper too. The pepper is still, I think I could break that down. And then the corn, there you go. See how the carrot.
Yep.
Oh, it's still alive.
There you go.
It's still alive. I gotta go catch it.
It jumped off.
You know what? It's still alive, man. So that's our dish. Let me just do a quick taste test while y'all are there.
I was gonna say I volunteer, but
okay, I'm gonna get ready.
So have you been adding any salt or any seasoning besides that?
Yeah, this again, all I really did was the salt.
Okay.
Right, and the black pepper and the bay leaf. Right, and then the salt, and then that little chickenless Trader Joe thing. Now I'm just gonna do a quick Okay, pucker up, Doc.
That looks good. I could smell it, at least in my imagination.
Whoa, well, let's serve it. Let's see what it looks like on a plate. And let me know if you have any other questions here. Let's see.
So Jay, I have a question, and it may be you. I think you kind of talked about it in different ways, but I guess for me, I was just interested to know, like, so what is food justice?
Right. I think part of thank you for that question. Part of food justice is, there's many levels to it, right? Whether it's like buying from regional foods that are closer to you, all the way to instead of using your money to go to McDonald's, knowing what McDonald's do.
I see. Okay.
Right. And then you start spending your money in things that are a little better for your planet. You're, instead of going to Safeway, even though if you have to go to Safeway, go to Safeway. But if you have the opportunity and the privilege to go to a farmer's market and buy directly from a farmer, right, without the middleman, right, that's a form of food justice, right? Food injustice is like in the hoods of East Oakland, when there's predominantly brown and black people, there's more liquor stores than there is.
Oh, that helps. Yeah, so the injustice comparison actually really clarifies.
Yeah. So now there's more Takis, there's more hot Cheetos, there's alcohol, there is sweetened drinks and beverages in all of these environments where there's a lot of brown and black kids that are trying to be focused to go to school, but in their neighborhoods, there's too much sugar and there's too much junk food.
And not even access to vegetables then.
And not access. And then like you go to a liquor store, there's this amount measurement of alcohol, and then there's hot chips. And then the produce area at the liquor store is like 2 lemons and a lime. You know what I mean? That could go, so that's like injustice, right? Like, so food justice is getting access, produce, healthy produce and fruits to those same community, right? Or if you're a consumer and if you are someone who is from, more of a, instead of a low, maybe middle class, right? Like, where do you invest your money? Are you going to go buy Safeway, or are you going to buy from farmers? Are you going to go spend money at McDonald's, or are you going to go and spend money at the local mom and pop grocery store, right? So food justice really means, aside from eating healthy, being mindful of how you spend your money to get the food, and which industries are you supporting by putting your money in these particular industries, right? And then also turning the mirror to yourself and being like, what do I need to put in my body, right? Do I need to, is it hot Taki, hot Cheetos, or should I eat a fruit, right? So there's various levels of food justice, but to me, it's really about using your money to promote and elevate marginalized and food growers, right? Food justice also mean, for me, eating more plant-based foods instead of animal-based foods for my health, and also for the output and the resources and output that happens on the world based on resources, chemicals and stuff like that. So making a conscious attempt to say, you know what, I'm going to buy vegetarian food because that's less output, less input and output. So those are levels of food justice, right? And then, promoting it, right? Teaching others how to shop, even, like how to buy things, and where to buy things. So there's various levels of food justice, but it really just being mindful of how you get your food, and how you access it, and is there access for you, right? And also being an advocate for communities that don't have access for it, right? So being that person to say, hey man, the hood needs more produce, or I'm gonna go do a vegan workshop, even though I'm invited by Kaiser, or I'm invited by a rich community. I'm also gonna do a vegetarian cooking workshop for folks in the hood, so they're, again, I've developed a thick enough skin for people to make fun, like, oh, that's not real. That's not real man food. You know, you need man meat food. Like I'm like we're over that. You know, like horses, gorillas, rhinos. They're like those are some strong ass animals, and all they eat is like hay, and all they eat is things from the ground, right? So cut that and go straight to the source, right? And making a conscious decision and elevating others and yourself when you do it. Even if it's once a week you're vegetarian, even if it's once a meal in a day you're vegetarian, or if you're vegetarian every day, like all of those are great movement to becoming healthier and having a better earth for our young people.
I love that. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, so here we are. I think we are at the end of it. Oh, turned off my camera. I needed to hide. Okay, so here's our dish. We have our tofu. We have there's our vegetarian chicken, right?
It looks good.
Right, when it's a little bit charred, then you have that. Oh, we're serving it. That's what I was doing. My bad. Okay. So we're serving it, making it look nice and appealing with the bell pepper and the potatoes, quality control.
That looks good.
So there is our dish. Oh, wait.
Looks beautiful.
Yes.
Okay. So enjoy. Maraming salamat. Have a great dinner, even though I can't really feed you.
I was going to say, send it over.
Pop a scanner open. Pop a scanner open.
Right next to me. It's waiting.
Just open your mouth. All right. So there's our white rice and our apritada for you to enjoy with your families. I will follow up with ingredients.
Yes.
This was more like a Q&A and just kind of a sharing time, because I knew that you technically wouldn't be able to eat it, but I know at least, at least we could build community, and then you could see what it could look like, and encourage you to do it yourself. You don't have to be a chef to feed your body. All you need to do is to be hungry, number one, and two, just like be creative and explore. And if you make a mistake, that's all good. Do it again, right? So
I love that.
Just 2 comments from Angel. Wow, and thank you for this.
Yay, maraming salamat. And thank you to you, Lily and Donna, for making this happen and thinking of me and my family for this. So I'll email everybody the dish.
Thank you so much for, taking your time to teach us about, decolonized eating and social justice, approach to eating and, the way that we handle food. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for everybody who came to join. And, CJ. So Jay, we're just going to wait for the cookbook.
Yes.
So,
I need someone to help me promote it too. So.
Well, I'm going to tell Lily to do she's really amazing with the arts stuff. So yeah,
okay.
I will
definitely coming to you, Lily. So let's collaborate.
She's amazing.
Yes. And eating like this is we just want to encourage everybody to do more of it, even if it's just one step at a time. It's really more beautiful for our world, and it makes mentally healthy, physically, and then it feels good too. It's a good vibe to be promoting compassion and life.
Yes.
And just letting others to live their life and showing to the universe and to the world that we can enjoy it, and we can enjoy food at the same time. Everybody get to be liberated, kalayaan, freedom.
Awesome. So
nice.
Here a little bit, you may come back and maybe teach us some adobo too.
Hey, only for Fil-CHA.
Woohoo! Oh, and maybe dessert.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, halo.
Vegan halo.
Oh my God! No way.
No, what we could do next time is is we could do the ingredients ahead of time and then send it to participants. So if they want to do their own shopping, they could do it with us. You know, they could do the halo with us, so they can just do it at home. And then, you know,
That's a good idea.
That's easy. That's just sweet beans.
I love that idea. Well,
yeah.
thank you so much. And JD in chat said this was great. Thank you for the positivity, and can't wait for the cookbook.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you again, Donna, for holding this space and inviting me. And thank you, Lily, for being the glue, to putting it together and making sure that people know about it. So, maraming salamat ulit, and I look forward to hearing from you all soon.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Salamat. Now I'm going to eat this all by myself. Thanks, Donna.
All right. I will send you an email, Jay, as a follow-up.
Yeah, no worries. Take your time. Send yourself.
I'll mail myself.
I'll send you some food. Okay.
I would
See
love
you.
that. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.